the candidates to come on up, and we'll start going through questions. And man, we got a lot of questions. All right. And I think Mark Gullaby cannot be here. Mark Gullaby cannot be here today, so I'm going to start out with his question. But before we go into that, I'm going to ask each of the candidates, I want to thank them both for being here. And let's give them 2 or 3 minutes to give a self-introduction, talk about why they're running, talk about their campaign. We'll start out with Kane.
Hey y'all, I have to start by saying, is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in Houston. I'm from Beaumont, Texas, if anybody knows where that is. And then we know. And we moved to Houston, and my parents built Blum's Furniture on Western. It's a big white building in campus. And Westheimer was a two-lane dirt road. We were just building the Galleria 1, and it went up to Bond. Forget about Katy or Shoot, that wasn't even in the mix. None of those places were there. It's Cellar Door across the street. And a lot of the people businesses around me are still there. We have the Papas, the Barings are still there, the Christies are still there, Sticker Shop Place, all the Brago, all those people, Brago, not all. So I decided to run. I saw the city go up. And now this one area, just ours, which I can't believe the other two didn't come. It's the Galleria, but we are becoming a trafficking center. We're right in front of my store. The last time I ran for office, I decided to do that in December. And the only reason I was able to get it is I do tax returns and I do all this stuff every month, so I just call the IRS, tell me how to do this, call the FEC, tell me how to do this, boom, call the state of Texas, do. So you go into it, and when I first did it, I really shouldn't have been elected because I wasn't ready for that kind of insults from the left. I really wasn't ready for it. So when you talk about a solid Republican, I was looking through my emails. Half of my friends are Democrats. In Houston, everybody used to be friends with kind of everybody until all of a sudden they became the left and the right. I didn't even know who everybody was until Clinton and Trump ran. No, first was Hurricane Harvey. That messed up everybody. They moved all over town. And this area didn't get any of the coke, any of the money. Remember that? None of it was like, and they made these, instead of fixing the city, they decided to raise the home. That was the craziest idea. Did anybody do that? I was like, why are you doing this to your house? Anyway, some people might not agree with me. I thought it was not a great design. They ripped it down and built a new one for the same. But anyway, the flooding is sort of a local thing. You can't really do anything from the federal level. So, but the freeways, it's enough of the freeways, but they're not fixing the city. Everything is broken. The federal government can't do anything about it, right? So that's well, you gotta be friends with the new mayor. None of us can vote in Houston. Westview, Bel Air, Southside, none of us. Richmond, Sugarland, Katy, nobody can vote for the city of Houston. That makes our life miserable because we pay more taxes in Houston. We also have rental properties. Our first rental property, this is my husband John, by the way. We've been married for 37 years. We have 3 grown kids and we're still married. That's all I can say. Awesome. Right now, the mental health of the young people in this city, are y'all aware of them? They're just going nuts. They go into the schools and, you know, there's a big district, I want you to know, all the way to Montrose, that's that group, entertainment, that particular group, that's a social issue, all the way through Sharpstown, all the way down to the nationalities. It's a tricky district, but it is winnable. So I'm sorry about to explain it.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Carolyn Kane. I'm a small business owner. I have a property management firm and am an investor in some of these assets. Been doing what I do for 32 years. So I'm running because they shut down our businesses and it really woke me up. I was a conservative, been a conservative since the 90s. Had my nose down, paying my taxes, you know, being a good kid, had my Fox News on every morning for an hour and thought I knew exactly what was happening across the nation, right? Until the businesses were closed. And I was worried that mine was going to be one of them. I'm, for whatever reason, an essential business, but everybody's business is essential. And we have this thing called the Constitution. That I was wondering, why is nobody speaking out about this? So I go over to Facebook, and there's a bunch of zombies over there. And I go over to Twitter, and gratefully those people were screaming bloody murder. And so I'm like, okay, these are my people. I've got to think, I've got to get with these people to find out exactly what's going on, because this is something a lot larger than what it seemed, and I knew it. I think God was tapping me on the shoulder saying, Caroline, there's a larger plan at hand here. And certainly, we all know that now, right? We've got our schools infiltrated. We've got transgender surgery being paid for by our tax dollars. We've got a border that is wide open, being infiltrated, and having an invasion. So there's no secret that there was a plan, right? And so we're in the middle of it. We've got to claw our country back. So when I had the opportunity to run, I had an email come across my email saying, would you run for office? And I prayed on it, talked to my husband, and I said, let's do it. Woo!
Hey, before we get started, Leo, do you mind closing those blinds right there, because the glare is right in everybody's eyes right here? And Daniel or somebody in the back there, all of those back there are putting a glare on the screen, and that's coming up on camera. So if you don't mind closing those blinds back there. Okay, great. The first question on the board here, Mark Goloby's not here. The Army Corps of Engineers are completely under the U.S. federal government, their jurisdiction. For decades, they've been talking about what they're going to do, and they've done very little. And so the question that Mark had there is, let's see, every hurricane, tropical storm event floods some part of the greater Houston area. Many politicians have said a lot of things. However, no meaningful transformation of flood prevention in Addicks and Barker reservoirs have occurred. They've shored them up a little bit. They did raise the level of one about 3 feet, but nothing significant. There is no flood super tunnel. The idea, are y'all familiar with the super tunnel?
Yes.
Underground super tunnel, turbines pushing it out to the bay, and that would coincide with the locks that they're putting out offshore of Bolivar and Galveston to keep the tidal surge from coming in, so that keeps the bay low. But there doesn't seem to be anything going on for the super tunnel. And the way we're on this prairie up here, right? And so the seasonal rains, when it comes through, it just washes out. And this has always been a problem here. The Addicks and the reservoirs, they catch and hold, but they have only a certain amount that they can handle, right? So we definitely need these tunnels. So here's the question Mark had. Will you commit to aggressive and unwavering pursuit to enact this desired underground super flood tunnel? Yeah, 1 minute.
We're going to have similar answers, so it's okay.
I don't know about this tunnel, but I'll tell you something. I live in Bel Air, and we had 3 hurricanes in a row. Memorial Day, and then it was Tax Day, and then Harvey. Decimated my entire, except 4 houses. Me, my 2 neighbors, and 1. And I was looking out, I didn't know everybody was underwater. I was on my 2nd floor talking to the lady across the street. That's how I didn't know. They have to put money in this area. This is, I know all the areas are important. This is the business district. This is an international area. Right. And all this, when they first flooded the medical center, remember they did something.
I remember.
Because they did that, and then they let the, in Memorial, where she was in Memorial Day, they let that flooded out the whole area. And we were just devastated. I mean, my entire neighborhood moved away, right? We even moved over this district just because we had a rental. We thought it's taken years. So on top of this, all this, I am worried if there's another hurricane, somebody, and it floods, where are all the displaced people going to go? Because we are a sanctuary city. Did you know that we are? Isn't that disgusting?
Yes.
It's awful. But I want to say, I have to get this out. So the Houston Press, the first time that I ran, I have been through a year of this, so I can take it. I want to go there and talk to the squad. Anyway.
These are 1 minute questions.
Okay, no, I'll go to the next one. I'm sure they'll ask me again. That's a big one, flooding.
So the flooding for me is a huge concern. The primary thing that comes to mind is where is all the money, right? Lizzie Fletcher herself got $37 million awarded to the Addicks Reservoir in 2021. I don't know where that money is. I haven't contacted the Army Corps of Engineers. It is on my to-do list to do so. The General Land Office has now awarded $1.2 billion to Harris County in general. There's another $10 million that's been awarded by another a FEMA entity. So A, where is all this money? We've also got drainage fees that are being incurred on everybody sitting in Houston water bill now for what? Since Harvey. And so where is that money? I don't see, work being done. I don't think anybody sees work being done.
That's exactly.
There is money that's earmarked specifically for the Meyerland/Bel Air area, and I don't see that happening. I like the General Land Office idea. I am all about having accountability and elected officials at the top. So that money coming from the GLO is actually being overseen by our land commissioner, right? And perhaps they can hold the Army Corps, maybe the Army Corps of Engineers needs to report to the General Land Office in a permanent fashion. We've got to get rid of some of these bureaucracies. I'm one of those that we need to lower. I really eventually want to get rid of everybody's income taxes. And you can't do that by babysitting Houston's water and flooding problem, right? That's a local and state issue. And so that's where I'm coming from. I know that there are issues. If we can get the federal government off the back of local and state governments, I'm assuming that we could actually tackle the corruption that's happening here.
So the yes or no question is, would you commit to aggressively getting the super tunnel funded and enacted?
I can't, and that is not the responsibility of the federal government, is my stance, and I think that Tina basically said the same thing in her opening statement.
Only because it's not clear where the money's coming from and how they're going to spend it. It's just not clear. If it was clear, I don't know, but
Right, you'd have guaranteed at least 100 people, involved in the bureaucracy of administering any kind of, over federal award. And so, if they give you $1 million, you're going to get 100,000 by the time you're done with it. That's just how bureaucracy works.
Okay, Leo's got a question.
Yeah, we need.
Leo, where are you?
Leo's right here.
Oh, I thought.
My number one concern is election integrity. I don't know how we've gotten to this point where we got, instead of election day, we have election month. We have mail-in ballots. We have all kinds of shenanigans going on. For a country of France, a country of 40 million people, can have an election day on paper ballots and know the results that night. I don't see why we can't do it. So any excuses is corruption, in my view. So I want to know if you're going to pledge to try to restore election integrity at the federal level.
watch in the next few days when all the fake paper license plates drive into Houston, Texas, and they vote. I'm sorry, I don't think you should be able to live here for a month and vote on how we live. That's number one. You just register on arrival. So you just have to notice, I'm in this area all the time. It just, they come and they leave. They shouldn't have drive-through voting. They shouldn't mail in only for absentee for elderly that can't get in. They used to call it absentee voting. But drive-through, the whole thing is nuts. Absolutely, they had to do that. No more of that. Bel Air ran out of paper. They closed our voting section early. I didn't even get to vote. So when I'm I didn't get to vote. Why can't I vote? Because they're standing, they closed our thing, and they had a line of people standing outside, mail-in voting every time. Some guy with no ID. Who are you taking it from? Bel Air is, I don't know why they're trying to take it, but you can't have Bel Air. This whole Westview, Bel Air, this whole Bel Air High School, that's another issue.
Yeah. So, it has been ruled that the elections are the responsibility of the states. However, they have also been deemed to be critical infrastructure. And when you take that angle as critical infrastructure, it is then possible for the federal government to step in and set certain parameters. We can't micromanage how the state handles an election. Jared can tell you that, but I think the critical infrastructure aspect can be taken up at a constitutional level. I am all about going back to the Constitution, right, which puts it in the hands of the states. I'm very frustrated elections. I am for paper ballots, same-day voting at the precinct, counted at the precinct.
Yes.
Okay, I want everybody
Yes,
back in your
counted at the
neighbor's
precinct.
garage to vote, so that you know it'll be your precinct chair more than likely heading up that, polling place. And you'll have your volunteers in there, and that it'll be just like it was 25 years ago, where you're in somebody's garage that you know they're not going to be hijacking anything. And there was millions of dollars that were spent on this last election cycle to ensure that, or in 2022, to ensure that there wasn't any shenanigans, and we had all kinds of shenanigans. So we've got to get, the federal government has an election commission. That's got to go away, okay? Because the money that is pouring out of that election commission is actually hiring students at universities who may or may not be citizens to work our elections. So if you notice this last round, you had some very young people at our polling places. That's who they are, and that the federal government is behind that. They've got to be cut off. Okay.
Leo, you have another.
You like it? Yeah.
You got a 2 for me.
Buy one, get one.
Well, the other thing I'm very concerned about, as most people are, is this invasion that's happening. There are notice for the last few years. We've got, by most estimates, now we're up to 10 million people, and we know what's going on. I mean, it's pretty odd. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. The Democrats want bodies here because they're going to count in the census. That'll allow them to have more representation where they're sending them. So I am so tired of just hearing about it and just watching it in the news. What's it going to take to finally stop this invasion?
Me going to Washington to fight with these people. I work I own Blum's Furniture, and I've ran it for the past 30 years. And it was very hard to get a notice. First, you have to let everybody go for 3 weeks and pay them to, flatten the curve. And then you had to close the whole thing down because it would be a $1,000 fine and arrest. A customer walked in the store and saw one of my guys without a mask. Only me without it. It's an 80,000 square foot building. If I'm in the front, me and John or whatever, and our guys are in that little part. And I have to lock the door. It's really hard, and that's to bring them all back. Luckily, my finances are great. We can survive it. A lot of people did not. You'd be surprised. But they talk of, like this other guy on the other side that's running against Lizzie Fletcher, this nightmare, Argonne. Do you know who your constituents are? He doesn't like these people in these big houses. You ever talk to talk? And how could they live and the illegals have to live in these apartments? Are you serious? I mean, it's thinking that way could go that way, right? This is a free society. And we can't have these people coming in and telling us we're for that.
We have a national security crisis at the border. This is treason, as far as I'm concerned. The border needs to be sealed. We need to build a wall. We need to electrify it if possible. Whatever needs to happen to stop people from wanting to come over here. And then we've got to deport every single one of them. I want to deport everybody who's come in for the last 5 years, have an immigration moratorium for 5 years, and at that point, start accepting applications based on what our needs are, not on merit. So, I mean, of course, we're going to take their merit into consideration, but we need to assess what our infrastructure looks like in 5 years. This is not going to be the same country. I'm hoping that we're in better shape, but maybe we're not. So based on our needs, I want to bring back manufacturing. So perhaps we'll need some help in that department. I hope not. I would much rather give these jobs to Americans. We have our youth right now is just very underemployed.
We've got we're moving on to that.
Okay, take a look behind you on the wall. That's a scatter chart that shows you where the members of Congress rank. And it shows you exactly where Lizzie Fletcher ranks far left. I mean, she's mid-left, but she's far from the median. Think about where you'll be at the end of your first term if you're elected, and show us on the map where you expect to end up. Okay. Far right. Tina, where do you think you'll end up on that map? Okay, so just right of center. Got it. Yeah.
You gotta give them a reason.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Got it. Everybody, we're moving on.
I'm being honest.
Joni Bain has, yes, we do, and thank you very much. Joni Bain has a question. I'm going to hand the mic over to her.
Okay, so I don't know who's aware of this or not, but the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, appointed Congressman Fletcher to the Regional Leadership Council, where she works with President Biden and his administration on the implementation of key legislation. So going back to that first slide that Joe showed us with some of the bills that she's sponsoring, this gives her more impact than your average single congresswoman because she is in the know of what's coming down the pike and she's getting rewarded for her vote. So I'm wanting to know, what pending litigation are you aware of that Congressman Fletcher is carrying or supporting? And which of those do you think is the most problematic for our future?
Lizzie Fletcher is co-sponsoring a bill that allows minors to go out of the state of Texas without their parents' knowledge for abortion or transgender surgery. She actually wrote that right after, yes she did. And I wanted to just confront her in person. How can you do that? You know, I have to say this, that Democrats are a well-oiled machine in the women's rights issue. And they have turned the whole thing around to where they're going to make them down, but you have to counter them. And because of the district goes from here, you have a lot of people that are voting on this issue. These a couple of issues, right? And they have us pegged like you're going to kill everybody. Why are you going to kill everybody? We have Second Amendment. We have the right to have weapons of gun. And the birth control thing, you need to be thinking. Birth control. I was in high school. The Roe v. Wade was passed in 16, and it was massive. But what it did, and I don't understand, is they legalized birth control, and it wasn't that birth control women. They're not pushing that. That's what they have to push in these schools, and not this whole transgender crazy. And I'll tell them to their faces. And they get mad, but they're separate issues.
So I am aware of her stance on transgender surgeries for kids. I watched a video clip between her and Dan Crenshaw, who took the correct posture on that one, which I was grateful for. But she stated specifically that she wants more freedom for the doctors to perform these surgeries, not freedom for parents, not freedom for children to grow up without being pushed into these kinds of things. The other thing that I watched recently was her testifying on climate change, and how some math had changed on how they're supposed to calculate how much credit someone is getting for their carbon credits, and because the math had changed, that perhaps they weren't going to get their subsidy. And I just thought, this is just absolutely ridiculous. How could your math be wrong? How much money have we actually given away in subsidies that didn't need to be given away? So that's it.
Next question.
She read another one.
Tony Bain has another question. Follow-up.
Rat farts are rat farts. I mean, seriously.
Okay, if you're elected while these bills are still pending, what do you think could be done to undo the train, basically, that it's moving forward, particularly if Republicans no longer control Congress?
We don't control Congress. If we don't win this election, we won't get in this district, we won't get it back. As HISD, as a meeting developer, a place like that, they're implementing this in the schools with pronouns, you know that. It drives me nuts. They tell me, I live right across 2 blocks away. And there are buses and buses and buses, which put everybody in their own neighborhood, little kids anyway, but be that as it may. There's a lot of drugs in this neighborhood. They're really not just poor people do drugs, how rich people do too. Everybody does it. It's in the schools, but the transgender thing with the pronouns and that, we have to somehow get HISD and Fort Bend ISD and Katy ISD to just understand, we want the kids to learn how to get a job. We do not involve in sex education unless it's going to be real reproduction teaching that works. It's essential because I really think they're not teaching the kids how it works. They're like so against the women. Why didn't you just sit down and talk to them, right? Nobody wants to sit there with you. And I'll say one thing about it. I know a lot of people, if they're on the right and they're on the left, when it comes to their desperate situation, they don't care what the law is. They're standing there and they're going to do what they're going to do. That's all I'm going to say about it. I would make it. It's a tough one. It is.
Well, I refuse to concede victory this year. I think that Republicans will have the House and the Senate, and I think that we will have the executive branch as well. I feel that very deeply in my bones. I think it began this year with our wins in City Council. God is going to be moving for us. Every day we are going to have more and more victories. It might get a little ugly because I think in order for the nation to be reborn, we have to die to some degree. But this is the year of our victory. So I want to say that. I want everybody to pray on it and know, we speak that into existence. We claim that for ourselves. I do have a lot of legislation that I want to repeal, and I'm going to say I want to pass very little. We've got to get back to a constitutional form of government. These decisions that we're talking about with our children should be decided at the state. There shouldn't be, and they are really constitutional issues. You're talking about taking the life of another person or harming another person. Their Hippocratic oath should actually come into place, and these doctors shouldn't be even agreeing to do these surgeries. So, that's it.
All right. Joni has another question. Go, Joni.
Okay, so Congressman Fletcher likes to portray herself as a middle-of-the-road Democrat, but her record speaks otherwise. Several bills that she has supported during her term in office since the January 2020 election have to do with what occurred on January 6th. And she has repeatedly referred to the participants in the demonstration that day as insurrectionists and has facilitated the passing of several bills that are impacting how those people have been prosecuted, investigated, etc. One of the side effects of these measures is these defendants have been persecuted by the FBI and other agencies by using various laws in unprecedented ways. What constitutional rights do you think these defendants have been deprived of as a result of that?
You're going to get mad. I think that January 6th was staged. I really do. I think that was staged because you had riots and riots and riots and riots and all that before one day of January and all this. I didn't see him say anything to go storm the Capitol, but you can contest an election, and I guarantee you if he wins, they're going to contest it. Every Republican that wins, they're going to contest it. That's fine with me. You go right ahead and contest it. But I would let them out. A lot of them haven't even been to trial. They need to be pardoned. Because if you're not going to arrest any of the people on the left that are actually destroying property, for myself, I'm lucky Blum didn't get hit through any of that. Because I just know the people, they didn't hit me at all. But a lot of people did. You saw the taco store get locked up. The Galleria had to get it. It's significant because it's an international area. A lot of business people come in, but we can't have this much crime in this area. You have to lock these people up, but not them. I hope whoever's the president lets them out. It's been 3 years.
So that whole ordeal has been a constitutional disaster. First of all, it turns out I have heard that the judge that is bringing these charges very slowly does not have a sworn oath of office. So that's constitutional problem number one. Number two is they were all arrested and questioned for days and days and days on end, months on end, without being charged, which is Fourth Amendment, right? Fourth Amendment. We have, the right to due process. We are entitled to a copy of whatever discovery the opposing party has on you, and that is being withheld from these prisoners purposefully. So constitutional violation after constitutional violation, the entire thing is just, and you're supposed to have equal justice under the law, equal protection. And so we've got basically criminals, running around, and we have January 6 prisoners who really did nothing except for step into the people's house. So it really is I think there's many things that are causing a constitutional crisis right now in our nation. That's one of them.
Not pardon. We've done your time.
Pardon.
Everybody.
This is my final one, I promise. And this is a follow-up to what you were both just saying. So if elected, what legislation would you sponsor concerning the January 6th prisoners to alleviate the situation?
I'm sorry.
I don't think I would pass any legislation. I want less and less and less legislation, and I want our country to stand on the Constitution. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Every lawsuit just about can be brought on those premises, and that's where I'm coming from. We've already got 90,000 pieces of legislation. I want equal justice under the law, and I want it administered the way that it's written. And that's not what's happening, right? I mean, more legislation isn't going to fix a broken system.
I have to say this to you. Lizzie Fletcher is an oil and gas attorney on the Energy Committee, representing Houston, the energy capital of the world. How did you not scream and fight for it? How did you just let it go? Like, you really, if you were in another state that doesn't do oil, I understand, maybe. But here, our business, a lot of people oil now. They would love to restart. I put them on a SAR last night. Great, she's what I love people. They want to restart thousands and thousands of jobs, not just on the rigs. So that. As far as January 6th, I would say, if you're not going to pardon them, because that's a presidential thing, they have to be time served. They need to go out. It's enough, and we need to take January 6th and just put it behind us and go on. But if you're not going to do anything to these people, right? If you're going to arrest everybody, all of the people that are doing it now, like the people that are blocking the Brooklyn Bridge, anything like that, you're not going to arrest them. You have to let them out, especially since it was staged, I think.
Okay, I'm a member. I have a question. Term limits. How do you feel about term limits? You got 30 seconds.
At this point, I thought we used to didn't want it, but now I think 3 terms, maybe 4 terms is enough. Then give somebody the same as a president every 8 years. Well, yeah. Yeah, well, like Ted Cruz, so it's kind of like a crazy thing. Like, you've got a really great person, you don't want them out, that's a problem, because then they have to go. If you have a terrible person like whoever and she goes back in again, like Sheila will get reelected, you know that, right? So I hope not, but she's sponsored some terrible stuff.
My recommendations are 8 years for the U.S. House and 12 years for the Senate. I know that I have a lot of folks that say 12 and 12. I might be amenable to that, but 8 and 12 is the number that I have in my head, which is 4 terms for the U.S. House and 2 terms for the Senate.
All right, next question.
Warren Howell, I'll bring the mic over to you.
Well, with the release of thousands of hours of January 6th video, we know for certain it was not an insurrection, and the FBI had hundreds of instigator agents, contractors initiating the violence. If elected, what would you do? This may be redundant from all the answers. What would you do with the January 6th prisoners? I think we already have that answer.
Yeah, I think
I would release them, sir.
Volume. The next question.
Should have pardoned him a long time ago.
Yep.
Oh, the penalties. This is a great question.
This really bugs me. I mean, Eric Holder was found in contempt of court. Did he even get a phone call? Penalties range from shackled, SWAT invasions, arrest, to nothing. So what would you do to standardize and mandate the penalties for contempt of Congress? Because that's a big deal.
Were you watching the hearing yesterday morning when Hunter Biden was sitting there and it scared me. This man sat there laughing at the Congress. They are the U.S. Congress. And got up and walked out at their faces. If I would have been in Congress then, we were talking about it, I would have just said, you're here, put him on the stand right now, right here, he's here. I wouldn't have let him leave and say, we want to talk to you. They may find out there's nothing. All this time it was which it's a possibility. No people that get paid that much to be on an oil board. They usually don't get, they're already wealthy. They don't do it. They are all it doesn't make any sense. I don't know why, if your dad's the president, you just sit there. Or you don't show up, but you don't walk out. That was bad. That bothered me too. So.
He doesn't know
We need to make, yeah. We need to make sure that Republicans win the House and the Senate this year. And if that's the case, I think that most of your grassroots people like me that are just regular, everyday Americans that are running for this position want the government back to hand to the people, right? So it's these bureaucracies. We've got the field office in FBI, you know, in DC, the FBI field office in DC that reports to the DOJ, who really reports to themselves. They might have a little meeting with Congress if they get in trouble, just to update them on something. But they're all internally regulated, they're all internally policing, and so it is part of that bureaucracy that is the deep state. And so my suggestion would be to get rid of the DC field office, push the FBI back down to the states, let them cooperate amongst each other. I think that the rot is at the top, and the DOJ just needs to be cleaned out. I mean, completely cleaned out, but that's going to take the executive branch to handle that. The only thing that Congress can do is defund it. But if we can get control of the House and Senate, we can defund all of these agencies that are weaponized.
Just turn around, read that out loud, and tell us your position.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. State your position. I agree with the Constitution. Period. End of story. No elaboration needed.
I have a Texas license to carry a gun, and my gun is me. Yes, I absolutely think you should be able to have a gun in your house. You have a right to. I shouldn't even say that, but yeah. Yeah, it's our right to do it. Period.
Tina, you hang on.
State your position on the Patriot Act and depth of Homeland Security Act, suspending all rights for any human being, anytime, any place, anywhere, globally, eliminated by due process.
So this is part of my platform. The Patriot Act has to be reversed. And I don't even need to reverse this legislation. We need to declare it unconstitutional. It never was constitutional to begin with. So the creation of DHS out of that as well, the DHS would go away, the TSA would go away, all of these agencies that are weaponized against us. DHS is trafficking kids right now across our border. They are enablers in that situation. So that is part of my platform. I want the Patriot Act gone. And that is one of the very first items on my list.
Thank you.
I would like to get rid of the government people, except for the Border Patrol. They are federal, and they don't really like what they're doing. They have to. They work for Biden. Our Texas, the National Guard, they're different, but this Border Patrol, they have to go back to stop. That's this bill that I was writing, this Southern Border Security Wall. They have to stop these kids. Because an American needs a signed statement that says you can take a child in or out of the country. It has to be the same at the border. You can't keep trafficking these. There's no such thing as an unaccompanied minor. They're all in West Africa getting sold, believe me. And they have to stop them right then and there. If you cannot prove that this is your child, we're taking this child and you're going to go to jail for it. You are going to go to jail. And these people they caught, the same with the drugs. They do stop them. They have to give them the right to arrest them and hold them and keep them in jail. That is where the problem is, because they're just releasing all these kids to nowhere.
Okay, all right. A lot of people don't know this, but 26 Texas presidents and governors have deputized militias, you know, ranchers, farmers, Texas Rangers and sent police to repel invaders, to repel terrorists. And I'm talking about Pancho Villa raiding across the border as a terrorist. The Sonora Cartel, they're terrorists. The Comanches, they were terrorists, for God's sake. You see what they did to people? Okay, so 26 presidents and governors, when we were a republic for a short time, and now that we're a state, you would be surprised. The last governor that deputized militia ranchers on the border was Dolph Briscoe when I was a kid. I mean, this is a very real thing. This happens over and over and over again. All right. let's see, the question here is, what's your policy?
About the border, the people on the border, they have the right to defend their property. They can't be having people just traffic right through. It happens here in Houston. It takes a lot. They designate you and they traffic they dropping people right off here in this area to sell people. They can't. They have to start arresting them. I know that DHS and those people are kind of corrupt because they have a corrupt president. They have to do what the president says, right? The Border Patrol is being run by Biden. If Trump gets elected, the Border Patrol is going to have to hold them, right? They're going to have to check their IDs. And if they don't have anything, they can't go through. That's the whole thing. Let them do in droves, right? And they come straight here, all the way down this district because nobody is watching. We have to stop them. They're in our schools. The schools. So that's why I have a problem with school choice, and then we'll talk about that later, because who is the money actually going to go to? They didn't make it very, very clear, because it's a mess. It's all money.
So I'm going to try and stick to this and just say that it is our constitutional duty to have a militia. So we do, Texas has its own militia right there. That's Kimberly Moyers. We do have a whole group of veterans that are working down at our border because local law enforcement has washed their hands of it. And so her and a whole team of veterans are using a veterans ranch. They've got supplies there for kids that they can try and rescue from the cartels. Kim did one, she saved a child, a 7-day-old child herself. They are right now our militia because our federal government and Abbott really are not standing up to defend our border. And I did go to this seminar this weekend, and something that really stood out to me is that every state is its own nation. We are the nation of Texas within a union, and we are in the Union of the United States. And so it is the governor's responsibility to protect our border. Period, end of story. Yes, it's the federal government's responsibility. However, it is the governor's responsibility to protect his state from invasion. All borders, not just the southern border. I'm talking if Oklahoma thinks they're going to come invade, you know, we're not going to have that. So it's a constitutional duty of ours.
Okay, so take a look at the graph behind you. That is a recent graph. It's 2 weeks old. You've probably seen it. These are congressional members that are insider trading on committees. They're on committees, they're making the rules, they're thwarting competition so that the stocks that they've invested in can then fill the gap and go up. Some of the earnings ratios are outperforming the very best portfolio managers in magnitudes of 100. They are getting ridiculously wealthy. What's your position on this, Tina?
I think that insider trading should be illegal in Congress.
Yeah, I think it is just that simple. You know, I think everybody's better off, at least for the last 10 years, following Nancy Pelosi's buys than Jim Cramer on CNN. So we need to put an end to Pelosi's reign as the stock market queen champion. So, and that means immediate family as well. So Congress members or immediate family, while we are serving in office, that family needs to be on lockdown from buying or selling on the stock market. And that is part of my platform as well. That's in writing.
Yeah, what about consequences?
Prosecution.
Yes, I'm Dr. Alice Jackson, and I wanted to ask a question in reference to vaccine mandates. We all have members of our families and friends who had to undergo that mandated human experiment by being placed in hospitals and going through that, and they died. And we have friends that didn't go to a hospital and they're just fine. What are you going to do if you're elected to ensure that we do not have to undergo these vaccine mandates?
So medical freedom has always been a part of my platform, and I have recently posted to my Twitter profile my press release calling for an immediate revocation of these COVID shots. that never were vaccines, right? They're killing people. People are becoming permanently maimed. There's plenty of evidence out there. If we have one baby that's killed in a car seat, they revoke that car seat, right? Why isn't that happening with these shots?
Exactly.
It is a psychological operation, and that was a word that I couldn't, or a phrase I couldn't put together for a long time. I knew that there was something very fishy going on, but you've got your television, telling you that you need to do this. You've got your employer telling you need to do this. You've got the government telling you need to do this for not just your safety, but to protect your kids and your grandkids and your grandparents. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be full investigations. Get to the heart of this, because I'm afraid that it is some branch of our government that's behind it, or somebody's government, and we need to find out who it is and expose that and bring them to justice. And medical freedom as well. No vaccines for anybody. It needs to be by choice.
I stayed home for 1 year because I could not wear a mask. And luckily I have a husband that likes to grocery shop because I cannot wear a mask. So you go out. I was genuinely scared. Weren't you? That they were going to arrest us or do something to us if they caught us at the beach. We have a house in Galveston, and I'd go there and hide. And you see all these people going crazy because they have to wear a mask on the beach. Stop. So then we did. I have to say, I was really resistant, but John is Canadian, and his father, we have one last chance. You don't know you're going to see him. But in order to cross the border, you have to take these shots. And against my will, and his dad. And we took them, and it was a nightmare crossing the border. I can't even tell you. If they would secure the southern border the way they have the northern border, we wouldn't have to do all this. You have to go to a whole big thing to do it. While we were in Canada, it was how scared they were. I will never mandate something like that. You can't make them wear masks. You can't make them take this shit. Polio is different, though. I don't know if you mean polio and tuberculosis.
Is my position.
But the problem is a lot of people are coming in from other countries that are not protected against tuberculosis. So that's where we're different. But COVID, that was not tested. You can't get a vaccine in a month or whatever. A lot of people are getting sick. They're dying from it. Their eyesight is bad. A lot of things. And never close the schools again, or businesses, or anything, or churches. None of that.
Dr. Jackson.
Okay. Doctor?
You're a doctor, you probably don't want to hear that. I'm sorry.
No. I mean,
I didn't go to the doctor for a long time because of that.
when you talk about polio, you know, all of the problems that came with that COVID. I had family members that died. I told them don't go into the hospital after they caught it. When they went into the hospital, actually it was a human experiment, because once you sign that waiver, I have the right to give you anything that I may think could work. So now your immune system is dealing with the disease, but now it's dealing with all of these different drugs. So a lot of people actually died, and we really, I think people need to be, prosecuted for that. And then I know people who didn't go in, and they're fine. So let me move forward. So,
He needs to go to jail.
absolutely.
He needs to go to jail.
In the case of these novel drugs out there, from holistic medicines, all of us may have family members, remember long ago, maybe we had a high toddy or whatever. But in the case of these novel pharmaceuticals, drugs such as marijuana, CBD, etc., that can show a efficacy in treating diseases, what are you going to do to ensure that the scheduling of these novel formulations can go from Schedule 1, which is heroin, LSD, these drugs that have no medical efficacy, and actually be available for the people? When you look at the pharmaceutical companies giving us medication that causes a whole host of side effects, and we have an opportunity to take advantage of novel pharmaceuticals out there.
So those of you who know me well know that I used to be on 2 different blood pressure medicines twice a day. Got all of my thyroid and all of that good stuff from the pharmacy. Always got an antibiotic if I was sick. I started to see Dr. Hotze in 2018, who changed my life, and I have not think I've maybe had one course of antibiotics, and that's it. So I take bioidentical hormones, and I have it, and even at that time before I was taking supplements, but I take, I think Elizabeth can tell you, probably 50 different supplements a day. And there isn't anything that God hasn't made to cure what's wrong with us. And I'm a firm believer in that, and they call it quackery. So you can't go into a doctor and have them tell you, you know, you need to take vitamin C and some zinc. That just isn't going to happen. But so we need an entire turnover and rebranding, redesign of our medical system. The AMA, you know, Big Pharma, all of those people need to come to account, and we need to go back to the medicines that God gave us.
Amen.
If you're talking about medical marijuana, I agree with you. There are people, especially older people, that have a lot of pain, like a shot for cancer is $2,000. A lot of people just can't afford it. And they end up being an Oxycontin and hydrocodone for pain, and it's really killing a lot of people. It's very expensive to do these painkillers. They get really hooked on it. They do have, except they already sell in Houston. They have these mobile weed trucks, which is not the way I would have rolled it out. But I do think for certain people, like, there's a lot of sick people. If they had doctors or they had it legal to work, and there's farms. There's so many farms in Texas, like A&M has a big endowment for that. They could grow it and regulate it here, and certain doctors, and a lot of different ailments that you would normally take drugs for, but serious drugs. Xanax, this crazy stuff they're putting, it makes them crazy, you know? So, but the kids, they have it already where it's an ounce or something, it's legal. I don't want to do that. But with the medical, yes. For people, cancer patients, a lot of it. You know, I know what you're talking about. But as far as the legalization, that's going to be hard to do in Texas. They're not going to want to do that.
So there's a BIZPAC member, Snoop Dogg, that wants to know what your position is on reclassifying at the federal level THC from.
Is that what you're asking? They should be separate. This medical marijuana is not the same schedule, whatever they call it, as hard drugs. Those are serious drugs, and they give it out like candy, and they sell it on the street a lot. So it's very addictive. So if I had my druthers, I would rather. There's a lot of older. I'm talking about with arthritis, really, and they can't even afford the medicine. If they could have it, I don't know how to explain it. Somehow the government would have to ensure that it gets to them. I would like to see that happen for them. Kids is a whole nother issue.
My only concern is I don't want a bunch of people smoking out back of a restaurant, getting high, you know, being paranoid. And so I don't want that for our society. I also don't want it criminalized. So I don't know if it's something that we allow at the house. You know, or you can have some friends over and you guys can smoke marijuana. I don't know. For me, it isn't a big deal. I don't think you should go to prison for it. My stance with marijuana, and this is really important to me, is I want to start making our plastics out of cannabis. It's far better for the environment, and it's far better for our kids and ourselves because it doesn't have the endocrine disruptors. The plastic bottles are doing a lot of harm to us. And cannabis also has the ability to clean up radiation and all kinds of things in our air, purifies the air better than an acre of trees, like 2 plants. So we are underutilizing the plant itself.
I like that.
Great, new subject here. Kevin Robert, who owns, he's part of the BIZPAC fund, and the energy business is pretty well done. He wants to know, what you think about this? Should the United States be completely energy independent? Why or why not?
Hallelujah, amen. Drill,
Amen.
baby, drill. I would like, we need to bring, so that we are fully self-sufficient, we need to fill up our reserves again. We need to move away from the solar and the windmills. They just are not sustainable. And they say that they are not sustainable once you take away the subsidies. You let them stand on their own without the subsidy and the money, the economics just don't work. And they do nothing but fill up our landfills. I would love for innovation to come forward and bring us some new solutions because I know that they're out there and they've just been suppressed by big oil and gas. That's it.
Can I say without y'all getting mad that I think that was a scam too? Cutting off our oil when there's no way we could be energy. We are energy. All we gotta do is turn it back on. That's it. All of our jobs offshore. So many industries in Houston. This right here, thousands of people would be working again. If they would have, I know some people have electric cars. There's nowhere to charge them. So the time when you decide to turn it off, make sure there's enough charging stations that you can go from here to Colorado, like on vacation or Montana, whatever, and you don't have to charge for 8 hours. Nobody, it's just not, they have not done it right. Yeah, it just doesn't work, especially for us.
Okay, Kevin Robert also wants to know, if elected, what will you do to stop the unreasonable energy policy such as electric car mandates, illegal limitations on energy production, government interference in appliance supply, unfair taxation, tax subsidies for uneconomic technologies?
30 seconds.
When they passed the law, we had to change all the light bulbs. Do you remember all the light bulbs? We must have thousands and thousands of light bulbs in our store. We had to go out and change the whole thing, all of them. And they don't last as long as regular light bulbs, which is insane. That's all I'm going to say about them. Because they enact things, they make the public do things that is crazy. The entire thing. For why? And now with the gas stoves, everything in Texas is gas stoves. That's a lot of it.
Well, it turns out LED puts off a lot of radiation, so I always wonder what their reasoning is behind some of these choices. The electric vehicles, I think the Teslas are like the coolest car ever, but the economics behind it don't make sense. You know, you go 60, 70,000 miles and you need an engine and 35 grand? Really? You know, that it's just the economics don't make any sense. When you look at whether or not you could have, you know, if you had half your neighborhood and everybody had a Tesla, your grid would go down. And that's the truth behind it. They use that much electricity, and electricity comes from where? Oil and gas. So, it's just smoke and mirrors. All of it. All of the, it's a hoax.
All right, I wrote mine on here. Okay. All right, so AI is extraordinarily dangerous. There are probably some benefits, but I haven't really found too many that are viable. But social manipulation also stands as a danger of artificial intelligence. The fear has become a reality as politicians rely on platforms to promote their viewpoints. A TikTok troll army captures the votes of younger voters during they captured it during the Philippines 2022 election. TikTok, which is just one example of a social media platform that relies on AI algorithms, fills a user's feed with content related to previous media they viewed on that platform. Additionally, AI voice changers as well as deepfake that is infiltrating political and social spheres. It's easy to create realistic photos, videos, audio clips to replace the image of one figure with another in existing picture or video. Bad actors have another venue for sharing information that is creating a nightmare scenario where it can be impossible to distinguish between credible and faulty news. How do you plan to approach AI, and what protections would you put in place to deter, safeguard, and protect Americans from nefarious actors?
That's just a really complicated question, but because there's so many facets to it. The social media such as TikTok, Instagram, we've got to get super involved with our kids. You've got to make sure and reprogram their algorithm. Look at who they're following, unfollow the ones you don't like. Make sure you like the puppies and the kitty cats so that they get more puppies and kitty cats. And I think we need to do this regularly. Google is on my target list. Microsoft is on my target list to go after them with antitrust laws, existing antitrust laws. They are a beast. Amazon is a beast. And they are being weaponized against us, and they're using those dollars to fund our competitors' campaigns, right? Amazon gives to, I'm sure, Lizzie Fletcher, and people like that, or one of the branches of evil that comes off from these corporations. They are influencing our elections. Google, as you know, if you Google Donald Trump, it'll show you all of his charges, and it won't tell you any good thing about him. And that's been going on for a long time, even though we weren't super cognizant of it until probably the last 5 or 6 years. So it has got, I think breaking up these monopolies is going to help with these algorithms that are programming really our populace. And I do like the idea of continuing a forum with Congress to put the brakes on it to some degree. It needs to be, and I hate the word regulation, but it needs to be monitored. And I'll say maybe legally monitored. I don't want to say regulated.
I enjoy social media. I really do. I have a great time on it because I'm still restricted on Facebook for spreading misinformation, which is fine. Yeah, it's been like a year and a half. But everybody's restricted, so I don't care. So I have not really spent any money there. And people keep hitting this page because when you restrict them from somebody, they don't know who you are. But the last year, I've never seen so much insults. You have to start by deleting them off your page and blocking them. There are so many paid trolls out there to make you look, they look like regular people. You don't know who's behind that little square. You don't really know who is answering your question when you say something. You don't know. They could be foreign advocates. They could be all kinds of people, especially in this. And at first I'd go home and, poor John, and cry and I go, I can't believe all these people say these horrible things to me. I can't believe it. And then I realized that the poor man had lived with me for a year. And I said, I can't believe they're talking about it. And I just started to delete them and block them because I don't know who they are. They're just random boxes. You have to do that. The kids are not going to let you interfere with them. You have to pretend like you don't know nothing about it. When my oldest son made my Facebook for me, when it first opened, all the kids started joining my page. You cannot comment on their stuff. Because as soon as you comment on their stuff, they're going to unfriend you. I just wanted to know that. Just watch them. I'm sorry, I should go.
That's okay. That's all right. This is sort of one of the pet peeves that I have, and so I would really be interested in hearing how you would approach this. Would you support defunding administrative agencies such as Department of Education, HUD, whatever? If so, which of those agencies would you target to dissolve?
Wait, just one of those?
Yeah.
So the only ones that are actually safe in my book are the FCC and the FAA, and both that will report to Congress. They're not going to be self-monitoring, self-regulating agencies. We need to do away with that altogether. The rest of them will be up for review. Maybe majorly downsized. Department of Education will go 100%. HUD will go. Perhaps that gets pushed down to the states if the states want their own branch of that. But the federal government's not going to be getting in anybody's business anymore. Not with our tax dollars.
I agree with you, except for the Federal Trade Commission. That we need to have that. It really is a good thing because they can regulate. Because there's just so much fraud going on out there. It's really a lot. Credit cards, cash checks, financing. It's a lot, and we have to we need them, that one group. Just because I'm a retailer and I'm a wholesaler, I go in and out.
All right, border security. We can blame a lot of different people for the border security. I know who I will blame. But I would like to know what your position is on Alejandro Mayorkas. Do you believe he's committing treason? If so, what is your recommended remedy?
I'd like to have that man tried too, because he knows exactly. You can't look at the television and not see thousands of people crossing this border, and you don't even know who they are. So when they're spreading diseases like you were talking about, stop them first. You have to be vetted before you come across, before they release you. They're not doing that at all, not at all. I just have to close it off the way. We've always had illegals in Houston. They're not in droves right now. But they do have to stop this border. They got to close it off.
I'm praying that they get him impeached this week.
And
Let's pray that happens.
Treason. It is treason.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's a treasonous traitor. And so start with impeachment and then referral to the DOJ if they'll do a darn thing about it.
But they won't. They won't. We
have one more question for Stephanie. We're about to wrap.
All right, so I'm going to stand and read this one. Our elected Congress is delegating powers such that agency regulations are enacted and enforced at gunpoint at law. Fed raids Amish dairies, farmers, and other natural non-additive farms and dairies regularly, many times destroying their operations and seizing their equipment, even killing their livestock at gunpoint. Monsanto, ADM, and Bill Gates' chemical GMO farms and ranches are never targeted. State your position quickly and what you will do about this.
Bill Gates will be part of my target for the antitrust laws. I want to be on the committee for both agriculture and natural resources, which will oversee the FDA. I'm thinking the FDA probably needs to be disbanded and put back to the states. I don't want vaccines in our organic beef. It's completely fine for them to put vaccines in our organic beef, but they can't put any antibiotics, which doesn't make any sense. Monsanto needs to be outlawed. Not only that, but they need to be tried. They need to be brought in for an investigation and referred for a criminal referral. I guess that's it.
And they have to stop them from buying up our land. Our dairy farms, our ranches, they're buying them up, and it's not right. Our ranches and our farmers are really important to this state, all of them. We have to think about our state, because we're a big part of this whole United States. We really don't think of ourselves, we think we're just Texans, right? But what we do here really does mandate kind of like what's going on around. If we can bring a lot of Democrats on our side, and we have to win this district back, we have to get them on our side again. They just, because they're starting to think, these people on the left are crazy. Normal, regular, rational people realize that what's happening is not normal. Especially, yeah, they're just not. But some of them can be pushed if you don't call her a far right, if you don't say the word far right. Just don't use that anymore in this election, the far right, because they think of you as a, you know, that Bible-toting, gun-carrying, whatever they call it, kind of prick what Obama called us. We like being rednecks. We like to be cowboys. That's who we are.
Just do what Lizzie does. Don't say I'm a moderate, but I'll be way over to the right.
She's a crazy. I'm sorry. I can't believe the energy. If I get on the energy, you have that. I get so upset when I talk about oil and gas. Is it really upsets me?
We're a little bit over time. I want to ask everyone to thank Caroline and thank Tina. We just went through 43 questions. We just went through 43 questions. Yeah.
And we got every answer right.
Oh, yeah. That's it. So thank you both so much for running. Thank you for coming to this forum. Thank you for standing and facing your voting public. And good luck to both of you. Thank you very much. So I'll tell you what, if you're here in the audience, if you're a Twitter user, go to Twitter. There's a survey, so we won't know who votes on it, right? So you've got some anonymity there. With the knowledge that you have right now through today, tell us who you think is most qualified to serve you in District 7 if you had to vote today. You can look on Joseph L. Trahan. I think it's at JL Trahan. If you search on your Twitter, the @ symbol JL Trahan, and you can find that survey and go vote. And we're gonna leave that poll open through this evening. So go ahead and go do it, and we'll let you know the results of it. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys. I think that's everything. Does anybody have anything else in conclusion? Drive safe. God bless you all. Thank you.